Now, before we do word problems, before we do quadratic equations that lead to word problems, there is something we need to cover. And that is basically some vocabulary. Okay. Now, you guys may be wondering that what kind of vocabulary do we have in math? So we do have a kind of vocabulary, and that is what's going to help you basically translate from English to math. Okay. So the whole idea of doing what you're about to do is so that we can better understand word problems and we can solve them as well. So word problems. I'm sure word problems has been a nightmare for a lot of you. Is that correct? What chapter are we doing today? So we're still doing algebra, but we're doing word problems or word problems that lead to quadratic equations. So in the grand scheme of things, you can say we're still doing quadratic equations, okay, which means we're still doing algebra, but we're doing the word problems part of quadratic equations, okay? All right, so basically, there are 4 or 5 things that you need to know which will help you translate from English to math, okay? So basically, you need to know what each word translates into. So for example, if let's say you have the word sum, what mathematical operation do you think this will translate into? The word sum. Plus. That's it. Okay, that's it. Sum means plus, okay? But the thing is, it's not just sum that's equal to plus, okay? There are some other words as well which mean the same thing. For example, the word more, total, okay? So what do you do when you have to total something? You add, right? Or if you're talking about, let's say, a speed, distance, time-related question, then faster, okay? If you're talking about, let's say, just generally, if you're talking about quantity, then you might as well see the word greater, okay? If you're talking about, let's say, age, all right, then it could be elder, or like someone said, higher. So all this will translate into plus. Okay, now you will have a better understanding of it when you have the whole context in front of you. But right now, I want you to remember these keywords and what they translate into. Okay. Then, what do you think about less? What do you think this will translate into? Minus, that's correct. Okay, less means subtract. Yeah, no brainer. But it's not just less. Okay, it's not just less that will translate into minus. It could be difference. All right. It could be, if we're talking about speed, it could be slower. Okay. If we're talking about age, it could be younger. Like, for example, A is 5 years younger than B. That means A's age can be found out by subtracting 5 from B. Or it could be lower. Yep, that's correct. Good job, Hashir. What else? Anything else you can possibly think of? So we've covered lower, less, difference, lower, younger, smaller. Okay, smaller. Reduced. All right, and it goes on and on. Decrease, yes, decrease. Decrease also makes total sense. Cut, not really cut, because it could be cut into half. Okay, so no. All right, what do you think about product? What do you think about product?
Multiply.
Multiply, that is correct. Okay, so the word product or even the word times could mean multiply. Okay, and there aren't a lot of variations for this. Okay, and what about the word is? Just the word is. What do you think this is going to be equal to? Equal to. Okay, the word is will translate into equal to. Yes, or for multiplication, it could be the word of as well. Okay, but of is usually followed by times, 5 times of. Okay, so I'm going to erase that because I don't want you guys to get confused. Okay, so when you see of, like I said, is usually followed by times, or it could be double, it could be triple, like A is double of B. Okay, so double is self-explanatory. Okay, so this is what pretty much everything will revolve around. Okay, now just by looking at this, you might think that, okay, this is not that difficult, but the word problems can get more complex. Now, I'll tell you exactly how you're supposed to take apart the word problems and how you're supposed to translate them into an equation. But for now, this is what I want you to remember. What's by? By, again, that's incomplete information. There will be something before or after, which will tell us what it's going to be. Okay? Now, let's do some examples for some clarity. Okay? Let's do some examples for some clarity. So here's the first example. So I'm going to write down a situation in words, and I want you to translate this into an equation for me. Okay? So the first example is A. Okay, so here is A. It's a variable, unknown, whatever you want to. It's a constant, basically. A is 5 more than B. So what do you think? What do you think this will translate into? Can you make an equation out of this? A is 5 more than B. A plus 5 equals to B, or A is equals to B plus 5. Okay, so this is a very common confusion. A is equals to B plus 5, or A plus 5 equals to B. So the correct answer is A is equals to B plus 5. Now, how exactly are we going to go about it? This is how we're going to go about it. Pay close attention. A is, okay? What does this mean? A is means A equals to 5 more, okay? Now, 5 more means that whatever it is, that will come before 5, okay? So that means whatever it is that we're talking about, we will have a plus 5 right after. So 5 more means that A is 5 more than something, so that means there's going to be a plus 5. Now, what exactly is A 5 more than? A is 5 more than B, so that means A equals to B plus 5. Now, you may be wondering that what if we write it as A equals to B plus 5? Now, there's nothing wrong with that, okay? You can write this as A is equals to 5 plus B. There's nothing wrong with that. You get away with it, okay? They both mean the same thing. But this is what I would prefer, okay? And this is what I would discourage. Now, why will I discourage this? You'll find the answer to it, okay? Or yes, you can also write it. You can always rearrange it and write it as A minus 5 equals to B. Nothing wrong with that, okay? But this is what I prefer, so I'll just put a double tick over here, and this is what I discourage. Why do I discourage it? You'll find the answer to your question in a minute, okay? So A is 5 more than B basically means A equals to B plus 5. Okay, try this. P is 8 more than Q. What do you think? P is 8 more than Q. Can you translate this? That is correct. P equals to Q plus 8. P equals to Q plus 8. So P is means P equals to 8 more. So you just write a plus 8. Okay. Now what is it 8 more than? You will find the answer to that if you read it further. And that is it's more than Q. Okay. So let's write the order as well. This is what you write first. Then you write whatever it's whatever you have to add or subtract, so that's number 2. And then what is it more than? It's more than Q, okay? All right, what about this? X is, can it be 8 plus Q? Yeah, it can be 8 plus Q, but like I said, I discourage this. I discourage writing the constant first. I prefer writing the plus towards the end. Why? You'll find the answer to it. You will find the answer to it just now, okay? So if I say X is 5 less than Q, can anyone, X is, it doesn't really make a difference, but let's make it X is 5 less than Y. Okay, X is 5 less than Y, not Q, sorry, make that correction. So if you write this as X equals to 5 minus Y, now you don't get away with it. Okay, now if you write it as X equals to 5 minus Y, you don't get away with it. Okay, so X.
Also, you can basically.
I'm listening.
So you can get away with it when you're adding it.
Yes.
But it kind of tunes your brain that when you're subtracting it, you would also work it out the same way.
Exactly, and that is exactly why I discourage it. So if you write this as X is 5 minus Y, and you will do this if you've gotten the if you have developed the habit of writing it like this. If you've developed the habit of writing the constant first, and then if you write it like this, you don't get away with it, because this means X is Y less than 5. Okay, this means X is Y less than 5. This is not when you get away with it, which is why you have to write it as X equals to Y minus 5, and this is correct. Okay, so X is means X equals to 5 less means it's 5 less. Now, what exactly is it 5 less than? it's 5 less than y. Okay, so why do we get away with it with plus and why do we not get away with it when it's minus? The answer is simple. In addition, doesn't matter whether you do 5 plus 3 or 3 plus 5, the answer is the same. It's 8. In subtraction, if you do 5 minus 3 or if you do 3 minus 5, it's not the same. Okay, 5 minus 3 is 2, 3 minus 5 is minus 2. So it's not the same. Sir, the sign changes. Is that a question? Is that a question or a statement, Ira? The sign didn't change. If you're wondering why we're using the minus sign, that's because of the word less. That's why we're using the minus sign. Okay? Does that answer your question? No, why we don't write 5 minus y? So I just said, if we write it as 5 minus y, what's wrong with 5 minus y? 5 minus y does not mean that x is 5 less than y. Okay? 5 minus y means x is y less than 5. Okay, let me give you another example to make it easy. Just a minute. So let's say you have 8 and 5. Okay? Now, true or false? 8 is 3 less than 5. Okay, false. 8 is not 3 less than 5. 8 is in fact 3 more than 5. Okay. If I say 5 is 3 less than 8, true or false? 5 is 3 less than 8. True, right? 5 is 3 less than 8. Now, how will I make an equation out of it? Tell me. Tell me what is the correct way to make an equation out of this. Okay. Is it 5 equals to 3 minus 8? Is it 5 is 3 less than 8? Or is it 5 equals to 8 minus 3? There you go. It's 8 minus 3, which is equal to 5. Okay? Or 5 equals to 8 minus 3. Doesn't matter how you write it. So, does that help, Ira? Okay, great. So I hope that's settled. Let's do some more examples so that you guys get the hang of it. People generally do struggle with this initially, but they get the hang of it. That's not a problem. P is 15 less than Q. What do you think? I read something about half or double in the chat. I missed that. Let me go back up. Does half also come into... No, half comes into division. Okay, division or multiplication. We'll talk about that. So P is equals to Q minus 15. That is correct. P is equal to Q minus 15. Okay, so you always write whatever it is that you have to add or subtract first. Then whatever it is more than, whatever it is less than, that comes after. Okay, so P is equals to Q minus 15. By that, I mean the order in which you write it. Okay, so when I say you always write whatever number you have that you have to subtract or add first, this is what I mean. P is 15 less, which means minus 15. Now, what is it 15 less than? It's 15 less than Q, so P is equals to Q minus 15. Okay, now let's increase the difficulty level a little. Let's say you have A is twice as... No, wait. A is twice the sum of P and Q. What do you think? A is twice the sum of P and Q. That is correct. A is means A equals to twice the sum of P and Q means 2 times P plus Q. Okay? Or you can write it as 2P plus 2Q. That's also perfectly all right. Okay, what do you think about this? X is 3 less than the product of A and B. Try this out. X is 3 less than the product of A and B. That is correct. X equals to 3 less means minus 3. Product of A and B means A into B together. Okay, AB multiplied. There you go. Okay, so this was just like, you can say, a warm-up. All right. Now we're going to do some questions. Now, the questions will not immediately be directly related to what we have done, okay? But gradually you'll find the similarity, and gradually you will see how the word problems we're about to solve basically boil down to this only, okay? So I've taken out some examples, and I want you guys to keep one thing in mind, that what we're doing is we're doing word problems that will lead to quadratic equations, okay? So here's a question. Let's first read the question, see what it says, and then we'll start. So it says the area of the square is half the area of the rectangle. Okay, so I don't want you guys to immediately start plugging in the variables and start solving for the unknown. Okay, so I want you guys to first get yourself familiar with the question. Okay, familiarize yourself with the question. Area of square. Okay, area of square means square. Let's say the square is S. Okay, let's say the area of the square is S, and let's say the area of the rectangle is R. Okay, so that way I don't have to write the word square and I don't have to write the word rectangle. So area of the square is, which means square, is half the area of the rectangle. That means it's half the area of the rectangle. Okay, does this make sense? Area of square is half the area of the rectangle. Is this correct? Yes or no? What do you think? Yep, it is correct. Nothing wrong with this. Now, how do we find out the area of square? What do we do?
X squared.
X square, that's it. So x square. Yes, Tanzil, what you're saying is also correct. So what you've done is you basically doubled the area of the rectangle, which means now it's equal to the area of the square. Okay, that's also perfectly all right. Equals to half into area of rectangle. Now, how do we find out the area of this particular rectangle? That means 2 into x plus 4. Okay, multiplied by x minus 2. So it's length into width. That's it. Okay. So you can cross multiply. So you have 2x square, which is equal to 2 into x plus 4 means 2x plus 8, which will then be multiplied by x minus 2. So now you have 2x square, which is equal to 2x square minus 4x plus 8x, okay, minus 16. X equals to 4, I don't know, let's find out. So we have 2x square on both sides. Now, although I said that this is word problems leading to quadratic equations, but what's happened over here is because of 2x square on both sides, this will reduce to a linear equation. Okay, now I don't want you guys to again make a standard rule out of this. So 2x square minus 2x square will cancel out. Then we have my plus 4x minus 8x, which is equal to minus 16. Cancel. Minus 4x equals to minus 16. So we cross out the two negatives on both sides. X equals to 4. That's it. That's your final answer. Yeah, you can cancel it as well. Okay, you can cancel it as well. So when you have two exactly same terms, you can cancel out. Sir, why are you bringing 2 to the other side? I'm just cross multiplying. I'm cross multiplying. Yeah, I'll explain it again. Don't worry about it. But let me answer this question first. I'm cross multiplying. And why can I cross multiply? I can cross multiply because you have two expressions that are being multiplied. Isn't it only for one? So here's what I've done. I've multiplied 1 with this expression, and 2 I've multiplied with x squared. Here's something I could have done as well. I just realized. I could have just crossed out this 2 and this 2. Okay, I could have done that as well. So if that's what you were thinking, that's correct. Okay, but I can always cross multiply. Like for example, if you have, let's say 3 is equals to 1 upon 5x, can you not cross multiply 3 and 5 and write 15 equals to x? Yes, no? Yeah, exactly. So that's why I did what I did. Okay, x equals to 4. All right, another question. And through this question we have another word, a new word. What is that new word?
Exceed.
Exceeds, very good. And what do you think it's going to translate into?
Crosses.
Plus. Yeah, plus. Exceed means plus. Okay. So area of square exceeds the area of rectangle by 13. So let's call the area of square S. Let's call the rectangle R. Let's make a nice equation out of it. In fact, can you guys make an equation for me using S and R? Where S is representing the area of square, R is representing the area of rectangle. S is equals to 13 plus R. That is correct. Area of square is equals to, area of square. That means S is equals to 13 plus, and what is it 13 more than? It's 13 more than the area of rectangle. Now what you're saying is also correct. If you take 13 over to the other side, that's perfectly all right. But like I said, somebody said S is equals to 13 plus R. Now nothing wrong with that, but I want you guys to pick up that habit where you write the constant first and then the unknown after. Okay, always write the constant after, because when it's minus you won't get away with it, when it's plus you will get away with it. So yeah, just watch out for that. Okay, so S means area of square, which is going to be y square in this case, and then y plus 1 into y minus 3 plus 13. Okay, y equals to 5. I don't know, let's find out. Okay, not S plus R equals to 13. Okay, S plus R equals to 13 would have been the case if the question said the total area of the rectangle and the square is 13. All right. How many marks do these word problems carry? Okay, so the kind of word problems that we're doing right now, they're very basic. You won't find these in past papers. I can't take you guys straight up to past paper questions, because as you can see, past paper questions are quite complicated. I can't take you immediately to past paper questions, but a full length question on quadratic equations will be around 9 to 11 marks. Yeah, this is basic. Why is this difficult? Difficult, really? Okay, what's the difficult part? Not like once, okay, not like a simple question carrying 9 marks. It's going to be divided into multiple parts. Is this the last episode of the series of quadratic equations? No, this is not the last. The Friday, inshallah, will be the last. Okay. So here's what we're looking at. We're looking at 3y minus y is equals to 10, which means 2y equals to 10, which means y is equals to 5. Okay. Today could have been the last episode, but I'm pretty sure by the end of today's class, you guys would want me to do some more practice questions. Okay. Which we're going to do, inshallah, by Friday. Figuring out the equation is the chaotic part. Yeah, I mean, that is the challenging part. See, that is the challenging part. Once you have that figured out, it becomes a piece of cake. All right, another question for you guys. X equals to 4. Okay, how can x be minus 4 upon 3? What is x representing? X is representing a length. Okay, what do we know about lengths? They have to be positive, right? So minus 4 upon 3 shouldn't be acceptable to you to begin with. Okay, if you're solving a question where you're finding out length, a negative value should not be acceptable. If you are getting a negative value, that should prompt you to see what you've done wrong. Okay, so look for the error. Minus 4. Again, it can't be minus 4. Although your equation is correct, probably made a calculation error. Okay, your equation is correct, Ira. The equation you shared with me is correct. You probably made a calculation error. X equals to 4. That is correct. So R is equals to S plus 2. Once you have this figured out correctly, if you get it wrong from this point, then, well, bad news, okay? Because you've done the difficult part correctly. Now when it comes to the easy part, you probably ended up making a calculation error. So x square minus x square plus 2x minus x minus 2 is equals to x square plus 2. So x square gets cancelled out. Now we have x, which is equal to 2 plus 2, which means x equals to 4. Okay. All right. So the next question that we are going to do maybe requires the concept of Pythagoras theorem. I know we haven't formally done Pythagoras theorem, but are you guys aware of Pythagoras theorem? I'm sure everybody has done it in what, grade 7, 8? No. Okay. Pythagoras theorem. Grade 6. Really? Isn't that stretching it a little? Grade 6. Yeah, probably 7th or 8th. Or maximum 9th. Khair. Anyway, okay, so I'll try and avoid that question. I'll leave that for the end when we do Pythagoras. I mean, we'll just have an introduction of Pythagoras theorem and then we will do that question, okay? Let me do some other question in the meantime. Now we're going to level up a little. Okay, why am I referring to this as a level up? Because so far the questions that we have been doing, although for a second they did lead to a quadratic equation, but then what happened? Then they boiled down to a linear equation. Why? Because x squared got eliminated. This question, however, will not lead to a linear equation. This will remain a quadratic equation. Okay. How do I know that? How do I know that this will remain a quadratic equation? There's something in the question that's telling me that this is going to be for sure a quadratic. Possible values of x. That is correct. Okay. So possible values, you get multiple values when you solve a quadratic equation. When you solve a linear equation, you only get one value. Okay. So it's a fairly simple question. You're given a rectangle. It's always a good idea to sort of make a rough sketch of the rectangle the question is talking about. So in this case, for example, it's talking about a rectangle with length x plus 1, okay, and with the width x plus 3, okay, and what's the area equal to? The area is equals to 12, okay. So what are we going to do? Simple, x plus 1 into x plus 3, which is equal to 12, okay, and this is where the practice of solving algebraic fractions and all that will come in handy. So let's expand this. So we have x squared plus 3x plus 1x plus 1 into 3, which is 3. Let's bring the 12 here as well. So minus 12 equal to 0. That means x squared plus 4x minus 9 equals to 0. Okay, x squared plus 4x minus 9 equals to 0. Let me just double check and make sure that I haven't made a calculation error or something. So x squared plus 3x plus x plus 3. 3 minus 12 is minus 9 equal to 0. Okay, so can we do middle term breaking here?
No.
We can't. So what's plan B?
Quadratic formula.
Quadratic formula. And you guys have the formula memorized now? Okay. B square minus 4ac upon 2a. Okay. So a is 1, b is 4, c is minus 9. So minus 4 plus minus square root of b squared, which means 4 squared, minus 4 into 1 into minus 9 divided by 2 into 1. Okay, I can see someone's already given me the answer. Let me see what the answer is. So one value is 1.61 centimeter, and the other value is x equals to minus 5.61. Now we will give both the answers, okay? Why will we give both the answers here? Because the question is asking to find out the possible values of x. So the question wants both the values. But let's say there was a follow-up question where you had to find out maybe the perimeter. Okay, yes, I know, length cannot be negative, just hear me out. Here the question is asking you to find out the possible values of x. Okay, so the question has sort of just disconnected itself from the context of the question. So when the question is asking you to write down the possible values, you have to write down both the values. But let's say this was part A, okay, and let's say there was a follow-up part to this question where the question said find the perimeter. Okay, so now you're in a situation where you have to decide what value you're going to use. So which value are you going to use?
1.61.
You're going to use 1.61. You're going to use the positive value. Okay, so when the question is asking you to write down the possible value of x, or when the question is asking you to just solve the equation, okay, so doesn't matter whether it's a length, time, whatever. If it's negative, you will write down the negative value as well. Okay, normally the question will give you 2 blanks. Okay, how it is with IGCSE and O-level past papers, you're given the question and you're also given the blank to write down the answer. In fact, let me show you. Yeah, something like this. Okay, so it's possible, I don't know what the answer to this is, but it's possible that when you solve this, you get one value as positive and you get one value as negative. And then you see there's a follow-up part. The follow-up part where you have to calculate the area. That means you have to use one of the two lengths that you've calculated above. Now, this is the point where you will decide which length you're going to use. Okay, and mostly it's the positive length that we use because, as we know, length cannot be negative. Okay? So I hope that answers your question. I hope that clarifies it. All right, now see if you guys can solve this without my help. I will give you guys exactly 3 minutes because it's a fairly easy question. It's a lengthy question, but it's a fairly easy question. Okay, I think 3 minutes was more than necessary. So should I cancel? Should we move on to the next part? Are you all done? Or should I wait? Okay, great. Good job. So in the first part, I'll just write down the working. Since the question says the rectangle and the square shown in the diagram above have the same area, that means you're just going to equate the areas, okay? So area of rectangle is equals to the area of square. Yeah. So 3x into 2x minus 1, which will be multiplied by 2, which is going to be equal to 2x plus 3. Now you can work this out using the identity. You can write it as 2x plus 3, the whole thing square, or you can write it as 2x plus 3 into 2x plus 3. So it doesn't matter how you do it. And once you expand, simplify, do everything correctly, you should end up with 2x squared minus 15x minus 9 equals to 0. Okay, so the first part usually is going to be a show part. That means you will have the answer right in front of you. You will have to multiply, divide, add, subtract, depending on the question in order to show what you're asked to. Okay, so for part 2, I can see 4.3 and 0.52. Read the question. It says correct 2 decimal places. All right. So let's see if that is the correct answer. I'm just going to quickly check. 2 minus 15 minus 9. Are you sure about that? Are you sure about your answer, Amina? Yeah, that is not the correct answer, I'm afraid. Might want to recheck. Yep, that is the correct answer. 8.06. Correct to 2 decimal places. All right. And then the other answer will be minus 0.56. Correct to 2 decimal places. Okay. So here also, since the question asked us to solve the equation, we will solve the equation, give both the answers. Okay. And maybe if, let's say, there was a follow-up part where you had to find out the area or perimeter of any one of the two shapes, that is when you will decide which value to use. In this case, obviously, you're going to use the positive value. Sir, for part 1, if the equation signs are totally opposite. Yeah, that's fine. So if, let's say, you've ended up with minus 2x squared plus 15x plus 9 equals to 0, that's perfectly all right. But you will still multiply the entire equation by minus 1 and bring it equal to what it's supposed to be equal to. Okay, you're not just going to leave it there. Sir, can you explain part 1? Yeah, I can explain part 1. So how do you find out the area of the rectangle? Length into width. Okay, so you multiply 3x and 2x minus 1 as I've written above. And according to the question, the area of the rectangle is equal to the area of the square. That means equal to the area of square. And how do you find out the area of square? It's side square. So this gives you 6x squared minus 3x. And this, if you expand using the identity, it's going to be 4x squared plus 2 into 3 is 6. 6 into 2 is 12. 12x plus 9. Now shift everything over to the left-hand side. And to those of you who are saying that is it okay if our signs are completely opposite? While it is okay, but I want you guys to be a few steps ahead. I want you guys to anticipate what you should do. So here you can see that the coefficient of x squared is positive. That means it would be better if you take all these terms over to the left-hand side. Okay, rather than taking 6x squared minus 3x over to the right-hand side, because that would leave you with a negative coefficient of x squared. Okay. So 6x squared minus 4x squared minus 3x minus 12x minus 9 equal to 0. 2x squared minus 15x minus 9 equals to 0 is your answer. Okay, all good? Yes, no? Okay. Now, do you guys know how to find out the area of a triangle? You guys know the formula for it? What is it? Half into base into height. Okay. Yes, also half AB sine C, but that won't be necessary for this question. Okay, use the information to find the equation, to get to this equation. Okay, go ahead. Okay, so looks like we have an answer. 7 and minus 24, that is correct. And how will you get to the equation? For the first part, it's going to be half into x plus 17 into x, although it's multiplication, so the order doesn't matter, equals to 84. Okay, then x squared plus 17x equals to 168, which means x squared plus 17x minus 168 equals to 0. Now solve, and you will have your, solve in the next part, you will have your answer. I think you can do middle term breaking over here. Okay, but yeah, you can actually. You can do middle term breaking over here. But if, let's say, you didn't want to waste a lot of time trying to find out the two numbers, you can just go ahead and use the quadratic formula. Okay? Okay, so what are your thoughts on the difficulty level of the questions that we have done so far? Pretty easy, looks hard, but it's easy. All right, intermediate. Okay. Yeah, so far, that's what I wanted to hear. So far, what we have done was fairly easy. Okay, I'm not trying to freak you guys out, but gradually we are going to do some difficult questions as well. So here's a question. Let's not solve this question. Okay, it's a fairly easy question. It's nothing too complicated, because I want to do some complicated questions now. Okay, let's just go over it. Area of triangle and the area of triangle are equal. Area of rectangle is going to be y into y plus 3. Area of rectangle is going to be half into 2y plus 1 into y plus 1. Okay, and then you can cross multiply, solve, make a quadratic equation out of it. So this is a straightforward question. It in the same part, it wants you to find the equation and also solve it to find the value of y. Okay, so here's a question which is slightly more complex, and now we're doing some past paper questions. Okay, so far the questions that we solve, I think with the exception of this and maybe one other question, maybe this question, okay, the questions that we solved were not from past papers, but this is a past paper question. Okay, and not all past paper questions are difficult. There are some easy ones as well. Okay, so you guys are familiar with the formula of speed, distance, time? Just the basic formula. Okay? Because the thing about word problems leading to quadratic equation is that you can have a lot of concepts in it. You can have speed, you can have area, okay? And yeah, that's mostly it, but it's usually area, volume, not even volume. Yeah, sometimes it's volume, sometimes it's even similar triangles, but obviously we're not going to do that right now. Do these questions come in just P4 for IGCSE? Yeah, so if you have an easy question, you can expect it in paper 2 of IGCSE, but the more complex ones, like the one I'm about to do right now, they're the ones that you will find in paper 4. Okay? All right, let me solve this question. So it says Chuck cycles along Skyline Drive. Okay. He cycles 60 kilometers at an average speed of x kilometers per hour. All right. He then cycles a further 45 kilometers at an average speed of x plus 4 kilometers per hour. His total journey time is 6 hours. All right. Write down an equation in x and show that it simplifies to so and so. Now, if you try and take all the information in at once, you will struggle. Okay. So you have to break it down. I believe, okay, let's not jump to conclusions. Let's read the question further. Now, for the sake of extracting important information out, okay? He cycles 60 kilometers at an average speed of x kilometers per hour. So basically, we have Chuck who's cycling, okay? And he's cycling in two parts, okay? First, 60 kilometers and then a further 45 kilometers, okay? So let's write down this piece of information. So for the first part of the journey, what is the distance he's covering? It's 60 kilometers. Okay. What is the speed at which he is traveling? It's x kilometers per hour. All right. So all I've done is I've just reread the question and taken out what's relevant for me. Okay. So this was the first part. Then the second part. The second part says he cycles a further 45 kilometers. So that means for the second part, he is again cycling 45 kilometers. Okay, not again, but like he's cycling again. This time the distance is 45 kilometers. The speed, however, is x plus 4 kilometers per hour. Okay. What do we have? We have the total time. Okay, what do we have? We have the total time, which is equal to 6 hours. That means the total time that it takes him to complete the journey is 6 hours. Now we've hit a strange point. Okay, we're in a strange situation. We have the distance, we have the speed, but the information that's given to us is time. So what do I do? What do we do?
We plus them.
We plus what exactly?
Like 6 divided by x plus 45 divided by x.
Yes. So what exactly is 60 divided by x? That's what my question is.
It's the time
It
taken for
is the time. Yes. So for this part of the journey, can I find out the time? What is time equal to? Speed is equals to distance upon time. Let me write this over here. Speed is equals to distance upon time. If you rearrange the formula to make time the subject, what do you end up with? You end up with time is equals to distance upon speed. Okay, so that means if I want to find out the time taken to cycle 60 kilometers at an average speed of x kilometers per hour, it's going to be 60 upon x. And let's call this not only t, let's call this t1. Okay, t1 for the first part of the journey. Okay. Now let's talk about the second part of the journey. In the second part of the journey, what will be the time taken? It's going to be 45 over x plus 4. Why 45 over x plus 4? 45 is the distance. What's x plus 4? X plus 4 is the speed. And why are we dividing? Because that's what the formula is. The formula is distance upon speed if you want the time. And why do we need the time? That's the question. That's a very important question you should ask. And that is, why do we need the time? Because that's what we have. Okay, so we have to somehow get the time from this information. Add it, because it's talking about the total time, and equate it to 6. Okay, now before I solve this any further, let me know if you have any questions so far. Because if I solve it further and we have the final answer, and then if you tell me I don't understand, that is going to be that's going to be quite a challenge for me. Total time, yeah. So I'll come to that. Don't worry about what we're going to do from this point onwards. Let me know if you have any questions so far. Okay, so I'm judging by the silence, no questions. Total time. Now, total time means, like you said, T1 plus T2. Basically, the time taken for the first part of the journey and the time taken in the second part of the journey is equals to 6. So what does this mean? 60 upon x plus 45 over x plus 4 equals to 6. And now what do you have to do? You have to take the LCM, cross multiply. If you do everything correctly, this is what it should boil down to. So what does this remind you of? What does this remind you of, fellas? LCM, okay? Algebraic fractions. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. So now you probably know why we did so much of algebraic fractions, okay? Because every complex word problem will boil down to an algebraic fraction where you'll have to cross multiply, take the LCM and whatnot to prove that it's equal to so and so, okay? So let's solve this together. So the LCM is going to be, make sure that you utilize the space that you're given very efficiently. X into x plus 4. 60 gets multiplied by x plus 4. And 45 gets multiplied by x, okay? And what is this going to be equal to? This is equal to 6. Okay, let's start expanding. All right, brilliant. You've given me the final answer already. Let's see if that's the correct answer or not. By the way, in the first part, you're only supposed to show that it simplifies to this. You're not supposed to solve it in the first part. That is in the next part. So 60x plus 240 plus 45x equals to 6. Now, if you cross multiply, you have 6x squared plus 24x, which is equal to 60x. In fact, let's add 60 and 45x, so that's going to be 105x plus 240. Now, if you take everything over to the left-hand side, you will have 6x squared. 24 minus 105 is negative 81x and minus 240. So, wait a minute. This is not exactly equal to what we were supposed to bring it equal to. What does that mean? Does that mean we've done something wrong? Do we have to do it all over again? Nope, we don't have to do it all over again. Yes, we have to simply take 3 common. Okay? So you will run into situations like these where your equation will not be as... Notice how the question says it simplifies too. So that means we probably have to simplify it further. And we can do that by taking 3 common. And then it should match. 81 divided by 3 is 27. 240 divided by 3 is 80 equals to 0. Now what happens to the 3? It disappears because it gets divided by 0. 0 gets divided by 3. 2x squared minus 27x minus 80 equals to 0. And that's it. That's your answer. Okay. What are your thoughts about the difficulty level of this question? 6.5 out of 10. Okay. All right. I'm glad if you found this question easy. That's great. Got me with taking out the time thing. Okay. All right, that's the attitude. Pretty challenging, but I like it. Yes, that's a good attitude. Okay, now part 2. Now notice here the question says find the value of x. Okay, so when you solve this, you will get 2 values, 16 and minus 2.5. Okay, and here, since you're only supposed to write down one value, what is the value that you're going to go with? You're going to go with 16 only. Okay, so you have to keep your eyes and ears open. Don't make a standard rule for yourself. Here the question is asking you to write down just one value, so we'll write down the only acceptable value. So we'll have to be looking for what is given as a final in the question and then make the equation accordingly. Yeah, of course. So you have to do it step by step, okay? Extract information step by step and then consider everything at once in order to make sense of it. Like for example, here, what made us realize that we'll have to first find out the time of both these parts of the journey? The total time. Okay, so if you just read this part, you're given the distance and the speed. Okay, so when you read the question further, you realize that it has to do something with time. Okay, so you'll get the hang of it. Don't worry. Okay, so this is a Pythagoras question. This is a Pythagoras theorem question. Now, since not everyone has done Pythagoras theorem, I'm going to skip it for now. This is a difficult question. You guys want to try a difficult question? Yes? Okay, wait a minute. I have a better idea. Wait a minute. Let's do a slightly less difficult question first. Then, yeah, you don't have a choice. Then I'll give you the extremely difficult question, okay? So do this. This first part is fairly easy, not that difficult. That is correct. So, and this by the way is a past paper question. So, normally a past paper question where you have quadratic equations leading up to word problems. Like I said, if you remember, I said it's going to be around 9 to 11 marks. So, basically this question starts here. I skipped this because it's not relevant to what we're doing. But if you calculate the marks, you have 1 plus 2, that's 3. 3 plus 1, 4. 4 plus 3, 7, 7 plus 3, 10, 10 plus 2, 12. Okay, and if you just take into account the word problem leading to quadratic equations, 1 plus 3, 4, 4 plus 3, 7, 7 plus 2, 9. Okay, so 9 mark question. Yes, the answer is PQ is equals to 17 over x plus 5. Why is that? That's because the area of this is 17. The area of this is also 17. Okay, it says so in the question. Now, if you want to find out PQ into the other length, which is x plus 5, is going to be equal to the area, which is 17. That means PQ is equals to 17 over x plus 5. So what's PQ is equals to? PQ is equal to 17 over x plus 5. So before I move on to the next part, let me know if you have any questions here. Amna, your equation is correct, but you'll have to make PQ the subject. Okay? All right. Now let me zoom out enough so you can see what we have here. Just a minute. Let me just take a screenshot. Y multiply PQ. Okay, hang on. So if you want to find out the area of a rectangle, what do? Length into width. Okay. So PQ is the length, or the other way around, doesn't matter. Let's say PS is one length, PQ is the other length. Multiplying the two will give you the area, which is equal to what? Which is equal to 17, according to the question. And now the question is asking you to find out PQ only. So can you make PQ the subject? If you make PQ the subject, what is PQ going to be equal to? 17 over x plus 5. Okay, so I'll solve part 2 now. Now part 2 says AB is 3 centimeter longer than PQ. Form an equation in X and show that it simplifies to so and so. So let's first write this in equation form. Okay, I'm sure we all can do that. We can write AB is 3 centimeter longer than PQ using just AB and PQ. So what do you suggest? AB is 3 centimeter longer, that means plus 3, than PQ. Okay, now notice we already have PQ in terms of X, but we don't have AB in terms of X, and that's why this is a 3-mark question, and the question above was a 1-mark question. Can we find out AB in terms of X using this information? What do you think? Can we find out AB in terms of X?
Yes.
How so? AB
17 upon x.
Very good. AB multiplied by x will give us the area of rectangle ABCD, which according to the question is equal to 17. Now all you got to do is make AB the subject, which is equal to 17 upon x. Okay, does everyone understand what I've done here? Yes or no? It's very similar to how we figured out PQ. Okay. Now we know exactly what AB is. It's 17 upon x, and we figured out what PQ is earlier. It was 17 over x plus 5. So AB is equals to 17 over x plus 5 plus 3. Okay, now all you got to do is take the LCM, cross multiply, and if you do all of that correctly, it should boil down to what it says above. So x plus 5 is going to be the LCM, 17 plus 3x plus 15. Now I've skipped a step. That doesn't mean I encourage you to do the same as well. I'm doing so we can save some time. 17 plus 15, although I might regret it later. 17 plus 15 is 32. 32 plus 3x upon x. No, wait a minute. Let's multiply this by x also. Okay, so let's expand this. 17x plus 85 is equals to 32x plus 3x square. Looks promising so far. So 3x square. 32 minus 17 is 15. So plus 15x and minus 85. So I'm gonna I'll have to shift all the terms to the right hand side so that it matches with what we're supposed to show in the question. And this is what you had. There you go. This is your answer. Now comes part 3. Part 3 says solve the equation 3x squared plus 15x minus 85 equals to 0. So no matter, irrespective of whether you got the first part correct or not, this part everyone can solve, okay? Because you have the equation literally right in front of you. All you got to do is use the quadratic formula and solve it, okay? So 315 minus 85. So x is equals to 3.38 is one answer, and minus 8.38 is the other answer, okay? Now this is what I was talking about. Now you have a follow-up question. You have a follow-up question where you have to find out the perimeter of a certain shape. Now this is the point where you have to decide what value of x you're going to use. Okay, so I want you guys to do this. You have the two values right in front of you. You have to find out the perimeter of PQRS. Let me write down the expression for PQ as well. PQ was equal to 17 over x plus 5. Now find out PQ and find out the perimeter. So how'd you get 32x and 3x squared? So like I said, I skipped a few steps. So first of all, 17 plus 15 is 32. Okay, 32 plus 3x, and what happens when you cross multiply? 32 plus 3x will get multiplied by x. So that's how you end up with 32x plus 3x squared. Okay, man? Oh no, wait a minute, I found it. It's 20.8. 20.8 is the correct answer. Okay, so in the last part, you have to find out the area of rectangle PQRS, okay? So that means you need to find out what this length is. So you will use 3.38 has the value of x plus 5. So this becomes what? 8.38. So that means this is also 8.38. All right. Now PQ, you will again have to find out using the value of x you just found. So it's going to be 3.38 plus 5. So I think this is going to be 3.38. Let me check. 17 divided by 3.38 plus 5. So 2.03. Yeah, 2.03, sorry. So now add all these lengths and you have the perimeter. Okay. So if you want to calculate the area of the frame plus the picture, do you have to calculate the area separately? Frame is the outer part. Okay. Frame is the outer part. The picture is the inner part. So what if you calculate the area using these dimensions? This one and this one. What happens as a result? You end up calculating what? You end up calculating both the area of the frame as well as the picture. Exactly. Okay? Because this part is the frame. Okay, this part is the frame. And this part, what I'm highlighting in green, is the picture. Okay? So this is the frame. And this green part is the picture. Okay, so why go through the pain of calculating them separately? Why not just find the dimensions of the big rectangle, and that should give us the area of both. Okay, now you will have to find out AB, for which you don't have to work very hard. It's going to be 3x. Okay, so 3x, now 2 on this side and 2 on this side, 2 centimeter on both sides. That means it's not going to be 3x plus 2. Hassan, it's not going to be 3x plus 2. It's going to be 3x plus 2 plus 2. That means it's going to be 3x plus 4. And for the same reason, this length is going to be x plus 2 plus 2. That means it's going to be x plus 4. And that's it. That's not literally it, but the hard work ends here. 3x plus 4 into x plus 4 equals to 476. Now all you got to do is, from where did the 3x come from? All right, I'm not going to answer that. I am not going to answer that. Read the question. Oh, I was further adding the picture. Wait, why do we take 2? Why do we take 2? 2 what? You mean plus 2 plus 2? Is that what you're asking? Okay. So this length is 3x. Okay. What is this length? 2. And what is this length? 2 as well. So what do you think will be this entire length? (3x) for the picture and 2 for the frame on both sides. So what is this going to be? It's going to be 3x plus 4. That's how I got 3x plus 4. Okay, does that answer your question? All right, and then for the same reason, here's what I did. This is x, okay, it's right here. It's x, and then 2 on both sides. So what is the entire length going to be? The width, actually. That's going to be x plus 4. Okay, x plus 2 plus 2. All right, you're welcome. X equals to, all right, hold on. First, let's see if it actually boils down to what it's supposed to. 3x squared plus 12x plus 4x plus 16 minus 476 equals to 0. That means 3x squared plus 16x minus 460 equals to 0. Okay, so this part is taken care of. Now solve the equation. This you guys can solve using the quadratic formula. You will have to solve, in fact, using the quadratic formula. There's no other way, unless you want to do completing square. By the way, I noticed somebody asked a question of completing square in the group. Actually, you can do middle term breaking here. I just realized. Don't worry about completing square just yet. We haven't done it. We will do it. Okay, we usually do it towards the end because people usually forget. So x equals to 10 and x equals to minus 46 upon 3. These are your two answers, 10 and minus 46 upon 3. So you will give both the answers. Do not write it in decimal because it's not a terminating decimal. Either you write it as... So how do you quickly tell if you do middle term breaking or not? Okay, that's actually not... Don't think that it's an act of genius that I'm able to figure that out. I actually tell by looking at the answer. So if the answer is a whole number, that means you can't do it through middle term breaking. And also, if the question says giving your answer correct to 2 decimal places, that means it can't be done through middle term breaking. Wait, sir, why can't we write it in decimal? Because it's a recurring decimal. It's not a terminating decimal. So when you write 15.3, that means it's only 15.3, which it's not. It's 15.33333. So either you write 15 whole 1 upon 3 with the negative sign, of course, or you write 15.3 with a slash. Not a slash, like a dot on top of 3 to show that it's recurring. Okay, yeah, so I'll scroll up, take a good look at it. Let me know if you have any questions. Sir, can you please show the first part for a while? Okay, I've done that. Can you please explain the first part again? Okay. All right, I'm just going to quickly clear this and explain it again. So first of all, AB is 3x. And why is it 3x? Please read the question. You'll find the answer to it. Okay? Now, in order to find out the total area, that means the frame and the picture, we're just going to find out the area of the outer rectangle, because the outer rectangle includes the frame as well as the picture. So what is this length going to be? So it's 3x, which is AB, and then you have 2 centimeter extending on both sides. So that means this length is going to be 3x plus 2, which is going to be 3x plus 4. Then the width. Okay, so this is x. Then if you have 2 centimeter extending on both sides, that means it's going to be x plus 2 twice, or plus 2, which means x plus 4. Now, if you calculate this area, that means you've taken into account the frame as well as the picture, equated to 476, and it should boil down to what the question says. Okay? All right. Then the question says, find the length and the height of the frame. Okay, so for this, you will need your answers above. So I'm just going to bring this question here. It's slightly messy. There you go. So find the length and the height of the frame. Here, I'll zoom out just enough so you can see the question. So we could have done as separately. Yeah, you could have done separately, but how exactly will you calculate the area of the frame? It's not a shape of which you know what formula to use. You will have to break down the frame into multiple rectangles and then find out the area. So you can do it, of course, but you're just making your life difficult. So what's the length of the frame? 34 and 14. That's correct. Okay, so you have to give the height first. So height is going to be x plus 4. That means it's going to be 14. Okay, and then the length is going to be 3x plus 4. So that's going to be 34. Okay. So thoughts on the difficulty level of this question? Yeah, I'm going to let you go now. Don't worry about it. Okay, so we're going to do some more of these in the next class, inshallah. Okay. And then the week after we'll start a new chapter. Easy, but it requires not like a new chapter altogether. It'll still be algebra, but like a different component of algebra. Okay. All right. So I'll stop here. Friday also, inshallah. Sir, when will we do? Yeah, we can do that now. Tanzil will do it. So because that's something that's only in IGCSE, we'll do it towards the end of the algebra. So we'll have a class only for IGCSE students where we'll solve that. Okay. All right. So I'll stop here. See you guys, inshallah, on Friday. Take care. Allah Hafiz.